I'm going to guess that you would love to be seen as that go-to expert in your industry. When people think of what you do, they think of you. But how do you become that person with all the noise online and all the experts and coaches and content? How do you become that go-to expert? Well, in this Inspired Living episode, I am bringing in our head media coach, Kelley Day, who's going to break down just how easy it is for you to be seen in the media, get media attention, how you pitch to the media, what is a soundbite, and so much more here. The beautiful thing is you don't have to wait to be discovered. You don't have to wait for someone to crown you as the expert in your industry. You can position yourself as one. And a huge piece of that is being seen in the media, getting those as seen on logos, and really sharing your expertise with people. So get ready to take some notes. This is an amazing episode. And I don't want you to forget, we hold master classes and video challenges where we teach this content in a much deeper way in our private Facebook group, Ignite Your It Factor. So after you listen to this episode, head over to the group, join the Inspired Living family, and we would love to have you in the next masterclass. All right, my friend, get ready to be inspired with our head media coach, Kelley Day. Kelley Day, so happy to have you. You know what I love? I love showcasing Inspired Living team because, I might be a little biased, but I think our team is like the best team on the planet.
We're pretty amazing. We're pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. So Kelley, you are our head media coach. You work with all of our clients on understanding how to pitch to the media and really taking the fear away from it, because it seems like it could be super daunting, very inaccessible, and that you would need a publicist. So on this episode, we're talking really about how accessible it is for entrepreneurs, coaches, like to get seen, to get heard, to get visibility for their business through broadcasting what we call their brilliance, right? So take us back, another Northwest gal, on how you got started.
Well, a lot of people say, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You ask little girls that, or little boys that. And it's funny, my mom always jokes. She said, if anyone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You would look them straight in the eye and say, well, I'm going to be a newscaster. Duh.
Just knew it.
I'm going to be, not I want to be. That's, so I was one of those rare children where I just knew it. It's in my blood. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it. And so, my mom would say, well, maybe you should watch the news instead of going to the mall all the time, Kelley. Let's figure out how to get you into this. And it was a lot of me just deciding. And, we talk about that so much in Inspired Living too. When you make a decision and you decide that you're going to do something and accomplish it, that's the first step. And you always talk about that, Carrie. It's the first step. So I decided when I was like 15, I was going to be the next Connie Chung, kind of like you were with Mary Hart, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Well, it's like you. Like I knew I was going to be on camera. I didn't know the how. I didn't know what it was going to end up being like, but I just knew that was something I was going to pursue. Funny how that came to be.
But what's so fun, I think, for you and I is that when, this is our nature, right? We all roll out of bed in the morning with a nature. And I love that. And I think that when you roll out of bed with your nature, if you understand what it is, stay in that lane. But that's why we love teaching people how to show up in this world on camera, because it does make so much sense to us, And especially at our It Factor on camera trainings that you and I do. It's so cool when we help people make that breakthrough. But so the on-camera part, yes, I knew I was just going to do it. But, then the mechanics came along and I went off to University of Arizona, got my first internship in Carmel Salinas, Monterey, drove up in my little white convertible Rabbit in 1991 with no air conditioning. And, spent the summer on my friend's futon in her living room for a no paid internship. Thank God I had a very supportive mom and dad who helped me get through that summer. But, I learned how to write the news on typewriters. Believe it or not.
Taking us back.
Old school typewriters. Yep. With the 5-ply paper, that you had to roll in. So, I started in 91 and then I just knew I was going to do it. And I fell in love with the news gathering and the writing. I knew that this part was actually going to be the easy part for me, showing up on camera. but I was just a journalist through and through. And so I love finding truth. I love telling the truth. I love checking facts, all that kind of stuff. And I love interviewing people. It's just so fun
Yeah.
to me. Yeah. And you and
Kelley,
I are,
one of the things I love about you too, not to interrupt, is like when you work with our clients, the major breakthroughs they have, because you said something like, I like finding the truth. I like finding and figuring out the facts and the data and how it can relate to what's happening in the world right now. And there are so many news hooks that our clients have that they didn't even realize that they had.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's the main post I teach around is creating news hooks, because again, I did it for 23 years. I was in Tucson, I was in Boise, I was in Salt Lake, I was in Portland. And so thousands and thousands of press releases or pitches were sent into us. And a good 75% of them just missed the mark. They didn't find a news hook. They didn't make the media care because they didn't know how to tie things in. They didn't know how to make them relevant and then offer themselves up as the expert to fill in the blanks on that story. But if you watch the news, any news, national, local, anything, they are looking for those sound bites and those people to come in and be interviewed on any given topic every single day.
Right.
And so the amount of opportunity out there is unreal. And you and I were just talking before we started about news gathering. And really, that's what has changed
so much.
So dramatically. I mean, when I started in this business, if we wanted, let's say we wanted to come interview you, Carrie, about why it's so important in today's marketplace to show up on video and use it as a really powerful marketing tool, we would have to get in a live truck, right? Gas up the car, make sure the batteries were charged, and half the time they weren't. Drag cable all over the place, get to your place, wherever the heck that was, through traffic and snow, and then set up lights, put your microphone on you, get you to chill out, and then interview you, and then pack it all up, drive back to the station. So,
and by the way, that's like maybe a 90-second to 3-minute segment, right? So all that work for that little bit of information.
Exactly. Or actually, and we would trim down a larger 90-second story into several 30-second stories for other newscasts. So it may just be a 15-second soundbite for all of that effort. But the bottom line now is, I wish I could go do news the way they do it now, because literally it's sending you a Zoom link. I mean,
this is it, my friend. This is it. Yeah.
I really can't imagine. Now, that's done one good thing and one bad thing. The good thing it's done, obviously, is it makes it so much easier for every single person listening to this to offer themselves up to be interviewed, because they can send you a Zoom link and bam, you're on TV in a few hours and they can record it. The bad thing it's done is it's really even further cut newsroom staffs, because guess what? Back in the day, we used to call them one-man bands, and that was the guy who was the photographer and the reporter. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I was so thankful and lucky to grow up in a real sweet spot of media where in most markets, I had a photographer. So I could be in my reporter brain and I could be in my journalistic head. I could be looking up facts and really digging into the meat of the story and let the photographer take care of the pictures, right? The shooting, the editing, all that, the light. Nowadays, it's so, and with the technology, I mean, I saw a girl in San Diego, that's where I live now, with her iPhone, a reporter. She was doing one of the new mass transit lines that opened, and she did the whole thing like this. I mean, she did her own story in her own live shot. And I watched that and I just thought,
unbelievable.
It wasn't like that when I had the luxury of having a photographer. But the bottom line is there are very, very few reporters in newsrooms now. The staffs have been cut not only half, but now they are down to the bare bones. So again, that goes back to the accessibility. Those poor reporters have to do so much in one day, it would make your head spin, and they have to do it all on deadline, right? That newscast is going on come hell or high water, no matter whether there's
we say you have to constantly feed the beast, like it is a beast all the time.
And it must be fed, because it's going to go on at that time, that day, 365 days a year, no matter what. But the interesting part now is that if you, as an entrepreneur or even just a business owner, anyone, if you offer yourself up with a good news hook nowadays to these reporters, they bite, man. They bite hook, line, and sinker, because they don't have time to go around again, like I had the luxury of, and search for really good stories. And
Yeah.
so unfortunately, the technology and how the news gathering has changed is cutting staff, which means that they don't come up with as great of stories. I hate to say that, but watch your local news. Yes.
Yeah, all you have to do is watch the news. Yeah.
I hate to
Yeah.
say it. It really bummed, it kind of breaks my heart, because this was
Yeah.
my blood, sweat, and tears for 23 years. And I loved my career. But I'll tell you, I don't know how much I would love it now. The way it has changed. It really has changed. Salaries have been cut a ton. But again, if you learn how to connect the dots with what's going on in the world and statistics, trends, projections, things I teach to
Wait,
all
wait, wait, wait. You just threw down three things that are really important: statistics,
trends,
trends, and projections.
projections. Yep. And they
So
are,
talk to us a little bit more about that.
so that's kind of the lifeblood of a good news hook, is a statistic, trend, or projection. And I always do this exercise with our clients, and I do the coming up next. So pretend like you're the anchor, you're Kelley Day, and you're on the set. Coming up next, 50% of entrepreneurs, if they included video in their businesses, a new study shows their bottom line would increase by 25% within a year. Coming up next, we've got a video expert, Carrie Murphy, who's going to talk to us all about how you get started if you are terrified about shooting a video, right? So
Yes.
if you do that coming up next exercise with yourself, and you
Mhm.
throw in one of those statistics, trends, or projections, and then you ask yourself, would I stick around through the commercial break for that story? Is that interesting to me? Like, did that
Mm.
coming up next get me excited? Then you
Yeah.
probably have a decent news hook. And that's usually where I start people. I mean, there are a lot of other things we work on to come up with good news hooks. But if you think that what you do for a living would not be interesting for a newsroom, I guarantee you're wrong. Because
Right.
if you can come up with those news hooks, man, you create a story they may not have even known was a story. Because again, they don't have time to go digging around and find the really interesting stories like we used to. We used to have time to do that during the day. And now they pretty much just take the stories that flash in front of them. Like, if you send in an email and it's a decent story, you might just get a call in an hour. They'll send you a Zoom link. They'll do a quick interview, and you might be on the 5 o'clock news. Now, that doesn't happen every single time,
Right.
but the chances of it happening in this day and age is a gazillion fold of what it used to be. So, I always encourage people, what do you have to lose? Try it.
Yeah, nothing. And I will say
Yeah.
too that once you're on the news, once people see you,
Mhm.
that credibility, that positioning, like just automatically goes up. People automatically think you must be the expert. And with our clients, we have realtors, we have fitness professionals, we have attorneys. Muna is such a great example, a criminal
Yeah.
defense attorney who was on KTLA,
Right.
talking about all the things that were going on with the criminal justice and all those things. So like you have something to share, but again, remembering statistics, trends, and projections, how do you tie in, right? The tie in into what's happening in the world right now. And it doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It could be, hey, we're heading into the holidays, we're heading into New Year's, we're heading into spring. What are some things you need to know as you're heading in? So, there's all these different ways that you can look at yourself and go, how can I contribute to what's happening in the world right now? And like you said, they're looking for experts all the time. Now, Kelley, here's the thing. Most people will say, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm not an expert, or I'm not good enough to do that." How do you break through the
Mhm.
psychology of the person? Yes,
Yeah, we
to
do a
pitch
lot of that.
themselves.
We work a lot
Yeah.
on that. Well, let me use Muna as an example. Our client Muna Busela, who works in Los Angeles as an attorney. This woman represents police officers in open court, so she's got some gusto, right? This is a
Yes.
pretty confident lady, and
Yes.
she knows her stuff, and she argues cases in a courtroom, which I would think would be very challenging. I'm not sure I could do that, but she was terrified to go on the news. And I called her a couple days when I saw other news big news events popping, and I knew that she should pitch herself on those particular days to come on and be an attorney who would add to the story. Well, sure enough, she did, and they called her and she got on TV. Huh,
Right? Amazing.
that
Yes.
worked. But
Yeah.
she called me, not in a panic, but like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? She was nervous for the interview, and it blew my mind with a person like that, so confident and so able to do things that we would all think are just very, very intimidating. So it's okay and natural and normal, and you are not alone. In fact,
Right.
most people feel that way, like, oh my gosh, now they're going to interview me. And the psychology behind that comes a lot along with thinking it's a performance, like to
Mm-hmm.
be judged and to be graded, and you're either going to get an A plus or a C minus with this interview. And you're not. It's not a performance. It is literally you sitting in your brilliance, your space,
Right.
your expertise, and just geeking out on what you know. I mean,
Yeah.
and people will say, well, what are they going to ask me? And I'll say, what could they possibly ask you that you couldn't answer? Probably not a lot, because you know your
Yeah.
stuff. You know your stuff. You're a great real estate agent. You're a fantastic attorney. You are the best. You are such a great fitness coach. I'm thinking of Jen Miramontes, another gal.
Right.
You
Yep.
are a fantastic brain health expert. I mean, I just talked to you and you geeked out and told me all these things about brain health. Just trust. And so I work through that with people a lot, trusting themselves
Yes.
to handle it, because they know their stuff. And it really, being interviewed on the news is not entirely different than being interviewed at a Sunday barbecue on someone's back deck when they say, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, I'm a brain health expert. And did you know that there's this amazing stuff, you know how that goes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And we have to remember that it's just a conversation, just like video is. A
Right.
reporter is just a person,
Yep.
right, who's looking to get some information that's going to serve their audience.
Yep.
So going back to the tip we share so much, you're speaking to one person, right? You're sharing what you do, you're giving those statistics, trends, projections, like making it relevant to what's in the world right now.
Yeah.
And it's actually, this is one thing that our clients love that you do, is you actually role play interviewing
Yeah.
with them. Because I will say, you can eat up that 90 seconds real quick when you don't know how to answer a question in a succinct soundbite. So let's talk about, Kelley, really quickly, what is a soundbite? Because I think people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. What I have
Yeah.
to talk differently now. What's going on?
Yeah, right.
The sound bites are really important, and here's why. A reporter's job is we have to take a tremendous amount of information. I mean, think of any story that's going on in the world today, and we have to boil it down into like either a 30-second story, a 45-second story, or a 90-second story. So we are looking for those nuggets, and those are the sound bites. So I really work with people, not just teaching them, but practicing with them, because it takes some practice on how to speak in sound bites, because they're short, they're concise, and they're juicy.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
make, like we teach in video, right? What's the most important thing about video? Make someone feel something.
Yep.
Same when you're being interviewed. That's why, when Carrie, when we won't go into when we met, but when we met, I was like, Carrie, I think I have something here on this media coaching. She's like, come on in and inspire me.
Come on to the family, girl.
Come on
Yeah.
into the family, because a lot of what it crosses, right? So
Right.
a lot of the fundamentals we teach you on video is very similar to being interviewed well. So the sound bites, 15 seconds is a really good sound bite. And you can write that down in your notes. Okay, Kelley said 15 seconds is a good soundbite, but practicing it and being interviewed by me, I find is the big breakthrough. And I geek out on it. I love it.
Yes.
I see
You love it so much. But so do our clients. I mean, again, every time they have a session with you, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. And their confidence goes up, and then they feel like, I can do this. Here's the beautiful thing, because we talked about news gathering, and we'll talk more about sound bites in a minute. Growing up with you, you had to get the job as the reporter. I had to audition to be on camera. The beautiful thing about where the world is right now is the low barrier to entry. And it's also contrary to, there's just a lot of stuff and people and content out there.
Mm-hmm.
But they are always looking for experts. They're always looking for people to come on. And you don't need to hire a publicist anymore. You used to. You used to absolutely have to have a publicist. And depending on your goals, those personal connections the publicists have can be really wonderful.
Sure.
But when you're just starting out, you can absolutely contact your local news, local morning shows. I mean, there's so much opportunity. You don't have to wait to be discovered. You can say, hey, I'm ready and I choose to be discovered. And that is the most amazing thing about the climate right now with everything being online and the accessibility to video.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be more spot on. And the great part is, a lot of what we really believe in within inspired living is called marketing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
video, use social media, use media appearances, all to market yourself, position yourself, and get credibility. And if you just get one interview, I mean, after I teach you how to write these pitches and create these news hooks and be interviewed well, just one interview. I mean, I've seen people get clients from one interview because
Yeah.
someone's going to see you and Google you up and go, they were on the news. And then you've got this little piece of gold, of golden marketing material.
Yeah.
You record it, and then you can post that. You can use it to show the world, hey, I was good enough at what I do that the news interviewed me about it. Bam. And the psychology behind that for a potential client of yours is really, really important. I mean, especially
Yeah.
with how everybody looks at reviews and research, and why should I pick them? And why would they be the one? The sunlight's coming in. I'm going to
There you go. Yeah,
go let that
everything
all
is positioning, everything,
position.
so that this having the as seen on logos, getting
Mhm.
even that one piece of media to add to your site, to add to your media kit, is
Yeah.
just one more tool in your toolbox, right? It's one more thing that helps you leverage what you do, how you do it, and positions you as the expert. Listen, there's a lot of people online. There's a lot of people who do what you do, right? The person listening right now, like, sure, but how are they positioning themselves to be that go-to expert? And that's really what we specialize in, right? It's helping you be seen, be known, and be paid for the incredible brilliance that you have. And yet we wait. We wait to be discovered. We wait for someone to reach out to us. We wait for opportunity. And I'm telling you right now, and Kelley, I know you know this to be true, like you go out and get it. It's right there for you. You just need to go out and get it. So let me ask you this. If someone is listening and going, oh my gosh, I feel so much more inspired. I'm going to start putting myself out there. When they're looking to pitch to the media, Kelley, who do they reach out to? I mean, good Lord, like the newsroom, it's huge.
Yeah.
Where would they go?
And that's a point at which a lot of people stop as well. Even if they
Yeah.
get themselves all geared up and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this. They're like, well, am I going to annoy them, or am I going to seem boastful if I try to get a hold of someone and say, hey, look at me, come do a story on me? No, you're not, because they need you. They need you to fill the newscasts. But you look for the assignment editor. And to us in the news world, that's so simple. But I realized people need that. That's a piece of information that people don't understand.
They
And
don't know who to pitch to. Yeah.
sure, like I wouldn't know who to pitch to in Hollywood if I wanted to be on the next Julia Roberts on a movie, but I'd find out. But the assignment editor at radio stations, at television stations, is a very generic, safe bet for most people. You can send something into them and at least know that you sent it to someone with a heartbeat, um,
Yeah.
who may give you a call back or get more information or respond. A lot of newsrooms now too, they have like story hotlines. I've seen that all over, because again, we coach people all over the country, the world actually. And I will go on some of their local TV stations' websites, and some of them have a hotline phone number there where you can call in news tips and say,
Wow.
look, I am a real estate agent. There was a huge turn in the market last month. Inventory doubled. The rates went down. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I think this would be a great story for your viewers. Just leave a voicemail. You never know. You just
Yeah, you
never
never know. And
know.
there is this thing we talk about so much again with the video is this consistency. So you can't pitch once and be like, I did it, just like you can't do a video once and be
No.
like, that's it, or they didn't respond, they must not like me. It's not personal. And it has to be just part of your marketing plan that every month you're going to reach out. I know this sounds crazy, but maybe to 50 different, channels out there. And this is even podcasting, traditional media. There's so much opportunity, and you can copy and paste, you can make it personal. And one of the things, Kelley, that you just said too is that we get so nervous, like, who am I? But what we have to remember, and this is cornerstone to what we teach at Inspired Living, is video is not about you. You pitching your story to the media is not, oh my gosh, look, I'm so amazing, look at me. It's how can I serve your audience? And I think a big part of making sure that that news hook is going to be picked up is understanding who the audience is, right?
Yes.
Understanding that demographic for that broadcast channel, because I mean, you're going to look silly if you're pitching something super lifestyle, right, to the 5 o'clock news, perhaps. So understanding, like, I would think the outlet is important too.
Yeah, and we go into that in my training because that is important. And yes, you want to limit your chances of looking silly and maximize your chances of them picking you to do a story on. And there are
Yeah.
little things that I know that are just second nature to me that can really help. But one of the other points I really want to make, Carrie, is a lot of people still, even after hearing this, will say, well, what could I talk about on the news and why would they care? I mean, that's we hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to give a great example because I was thinking about this before we were going to do this podcast. And like CNN, for example, the other day, there was a great story about all the regulation. Facebook is asking to be regulated. I mean, they're like, come on, guys, give us some help over here because we're sick of being
Right.
that. We're sick of being the bad guy. You guys all think that Instagram is evil. And I hate to use that word, but yes, there are now major statistics coming out about young girls, certain ages, amounts of screen time, negativity,
Yeah.
negative
Yep.
thoughts of hurting themselves. There are statistics now about, I mean, this just breaks my heart, but young girls showing up at emergency rooms, they've tried to hurt themselves, all this kind of stuff that ties back. Well, now that that news is out there, they need experts to come on and have a conversation about it, right? So they had an
Mhm.
expert on who was a psychologist who was really looking into this. But I was thinking, let's say you're a nutrition expert. You could you could add to that story. Like, look, I work on nutrition with young people so that they stay focused, they perform better on their testing, they get more self-esteem, they feel better, but they're doing it because they're nourishing their bodies. They're not sitting there comparing themselves to someone else on television or
Right.
online. If you
Right.
are a fitness expert, you could talk about how that can help depression in young children. If you are and just think about all the range of
Yeah.
people.
I mean, a psychologist, a teacher. I mean, there's so many angles that you could take with that story.
Or a
And
life
on the other
coach.
side, if you are in technology or you're in apps or you're in business development, that's a whole nother conversation too. So there's so many different angles that you can look at
Mhm.
from, a story like that.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking of all the great life coaches who we work with and people
Yeah.
who are really helping their clients find their purpose in life. What a great person to come on and talk and add to that story so the viewer thinks of it as a little bit bigger. But any sort of lifestyle coaching would be a great. And so again, we look at stories that are already out there, and then we dig and we find why what you would have to say will add to it for not, and again, not the reporter, but for the viewer. And
Yeah.
that's another important thing I always talk about is when you're being interviewed, you're not talking to that reporter, you're speaking to the viewer.
Oh, say that one more time. Say that
Yes,
again, because that's really
yes,
important.
it is. When you are being interviewed by a reporter, you're not speaking to that reporter, you're speaking with the viewer. With
Yes.
the viewer, not to the viewer
Right.
or at the viewer, but with the viewer. And so another thing I find is people just blah, 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 run through their interview,
Slow down.
put it
Yeah.
down a little, because again, this is not a performance. It's a conversation, like you always say, Carrie. And
Yep.
those viewers out there, they're just like you, right? And
Yeah.
that newsroom is gonna find someone to talk to about this
Yep.
story and flesh it out and add details and give an expert perspective. So why not you?
Yep.
I
I
always
just have to say there's so many interviews I've seen where people like their nerves just take over. They become super stoic. So, again, practicing video, getting good on camera. I mean, the fact that our clients come to the reporters with, media training and on camera training, it's a game changer. So even if you haven't had training yet, you just going live and doing videos and getting really conversational
right.
with how you show up is going to help tremendously with getting you media coverage. And also just a little tip for you. There is a website called Haro, Haro, and it stands for Help a reporter out. And
Mhm.
if you subscribe to that, you'll get emails every day with links to what reporters are looking for different stories. And then again, go and look at, where all the news stations are, what local morning shows there are,
Mhm.
when the news is airing. And you don't have to stay local. You could stay regional. You can go, national. And it starts with just putting yourself out there. It
Yeah.
starts with one interview, building that confidence, right? Video's a muscle, and then getting out there and doing it more. So, what I want to remind you of is you don't have to wait to be discovered. You don't have to wait for someone to find you, right? And when you have like a YouTube channel or you have a social media channel that has a lot of video, you can send that to the reporters too. And that just edifies that
Mhm.
you are great on camera because they are looking for people that you know, are
Yeah.
good on camera.
They
Yeah,
have that.
that's
They
that's
have
helpful.
what we call, but you don't have to have the it factor. You don't have to seem like a star. You don't have
No,
to seem like an actress or an actor because it's,
we
again,
actually don't want that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a performance. We want someone who understands how to communicate in this space that we're in right now
Hmm.
without sounding like they are. So, like Carrie and I right now we're just talking, and of course you and I could do it all day.
Yeah.
Because we just did it. But if you learn that skill of video, consistent video, it helps tremendously when you go to be interviewed by a reporter. Also, because you probably spent some time on your message and on clarifying that
Hmm.
message.
Hmm.
We've got our next video confidence and conversion masterclass coming up next week, and I've been on the phone with a whole bunch of people who are enrolled. I love to say hi to them ahead of time, and I have heard over and over and over again, I need help with my message. I need
Everyone that we come across. Yeah.
Yes, I need help with my message. And I love that because first of all, that's what we love to do is help them with that message. But once you get that part, being interviewed on the media is so much less intimidating for you because you know what your message is. You know who you help, you know how you help them, and you know how to convey that and communicate that in a video sense that is it just gets easier every time you
Yeah.
practice. And so yeah,
Yeah.
they're little building blocks that put together this incredible on camera marketing strategy that people are thriving in right now, and it's just
And I mean,
really,
you have to use video to grow your business now. I mean,
yeah.
we used to say it used to be a maybe, and now it's an absolute must. And
Yes.
media is just one more extension of using this amazing tool that we have. And again, you don't have to get on airplanes anymore. You don't have to have them come to you. Like it's right here. It's that accessible. So there's no excuses. I don't want to hear it. There's no excuses for you not to go out there and be seen as that go-to expert in your industry. Kelley Day, I just love you so much. Thank
Yeah, me too,
you for
girl.
your knowledge. I hope we inspired some people today to get out there and go be seen and get that media attention. If you want to learn more about how to craft that message, because like Kelley said, once you know your message, not only is it easier to get those media engagements, but it's also easier to do everything. It's easier to build your website. It's
Yep.
easier to do video content. It's easier to market. So if you would like some clarity around that, come to our private Facebook group. It's called Ignite Your IT Factor, where we hold master classes and video challenges. Kelley and I are both in the group all the time, and we would love to have you there. And if you are interested in working with Kelley and you would love for her to help you kind of refine your message and give you some of those tips and tricks on how to get that media coverage, you can email us at hello@inspiredliving.tv and just put media in the subject line, and we will reach out to you and you can book a call with Kelley and see how she can support you. Kelley, anything you want to leave us with today?
I just love you, sister. I
Love
just
you
do. I
too.
feel like you and we've worked together for a couple of years now, and I feel like we can almost complete each other's sentences. And it makes me feel supported and cared for and encouraged by this whole team, and Inspired Living has just really changed my life. I love it. I loved my career on television. I did, but this is so rewarding every single
Yeah.
day. The people I get to help and talk with and inspire. It's addictive, and I'm not going anywhere, girl. So
Good, because I'm not letting you. All right,
yay.
Kelley,
And
love you so
actually, I
much.
am going to be in that Facebook group. Later today. Oh, but this probably won't run today. So that won't.
But you're
Anyway,
in the group all the time. So
I'm in the group
again,
all the
it's a
time.
private Facebook group. You just ask to join. It's Ignite Your It factor. And we're in the group every week. I go live in the group every week. It's an amazing community. And so we encourage you to join us. Thank you so much for being with me today, Kelley. And again, stop waiting to be discovered. Go out there and become that go-to expert.
You've just heard another uplifting episode of Inspired Living with Carrie Murphy, the podcast. I hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you'd like to know more about Inspired Living or to get your hands on many of our awesome free resources, such as the Be Studio Ready Guide, simply visit us at inspiredliving.tv/podcast. Remember, your vision is your destiny, and we're here to help you bring it to life. Join me again next week for another extraordinary episode.